Warning, this episode contains copious amounts of Josh Goebel. Any women with heart conditions are advised to listen to Josh at their own risk. This also applies to women who do not have heart conditions. He is just that attractive and sexy. Enjoy the show. Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode of the JoshCast. I'm your host, Josh. Apologies for missing last week. It was the Super Bowl, so naturally I had to go super football fan and, watch the game and be very angry with just everything that happened, and all the commercials kind of sucked. The halftime was all right, I guess. But yeah, we're back. Well, I'm back. Nobody's back with me. Everybody died, unfortunately. We were all on a bus. We were doing some sightseeing, just some bro time over the course of the weekend, when the bus driver decided to take a $20 bet from Carson, saying that he couldn't hit that drift around this corner along the ledge. And turns out the bus driver couldn't hit the drift, so Carson ended up making $20 in theory. But our bus skid off the road, it tumbled down a cliff, and everybody died except me. So yeah, it's important that we show our respects to Carson and the boys and the bus driver who all lost their lives, and especially the bus driver who lost $20 that even in the afterlife he will probably still owe Carson. Anyways, lots been happening over the course of these last 2 weeks. I decided that for the podcast I wanted to devote an episode every once in a while to talking about Central Washington athletics. For those who don't know, I went to Central Washington University and graduated in the spring of 2021. And I've always had the idea of talking sports on the podcast for Central, just because I'm a huge sport guy, but I kind of started the podcast at an awkward time where everything was kind of in season already, and it didn't feel, I guess, right to, start talking about sports mid-season when I haven't been following them very much, just because I'm 1,000 miles away. But I want to change that. At least try to cover sport news that goes on there, except baseball, because nobody fucking likes baseball. It's a trash sport. The main piece of Central news that I want to discuss is that Central Washington, along with Western Oregon and Simon Fraser universities, have all agreed to join the Lone Star Conference as affiliate members for football. For those who don't know, Central, Simon Fraser, and Western Oregon all are part of the Great Northwest Athletic Conference, or GNAC. And for football, it's been a struggling conference. It's only really been the three. Like, we play everybody else in that conference in like softball, volleyball, basketball. We play all the other GNAC schools in every other sport except football. But in football, it's just the three of us. And the Great Northwest Athletic Conference for football has just been really bad lately. Not a whole lot to its name, which hurts recruiting, and it doesn't really help anything for the teams, especially when you only have two other teams in conference, and most of your season, is scheduled against outside non-league opponents. So the three schools decided to join the Lone Star Conference, or they were invited, I guess. But now with the addition of Central, Simon, and Western Oregon, there are now 10 teams in the Lone Star Conference. And from what I can tell, most of the Lone Star Conference schools are in like Texas and New Mexico area. So these schools are going to have to go pretty far from home for their road games, especially Simon Fraser, because Simon Fraser is up in Canada. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to work very well for them. That's a lot of traveling for Simon Fraser, and they're not even that good. Simon Fraser has always been the Jacksonville Jaguars of the GNAC, where they just show up to their games, they get their ass kicked, and then they go home. So personally, I'm really happy that Central's actually getting into a real conference instead of a conference of now three teams that's just kind of dissolving. And it'll help Central, not just with, competition, but also with recruiting, because now they can pitch to athletes that they're in a real conference and that they'll see real opponents instead of just a bunch of non-league opponents, and playing for a league title that doesn't really mean anything if there's only three of you. So at the Lone Star Conference, there is a history. There is a rich history in that conference. And for Central and the others to join in as affiliate members and have like an actual conference to, try to win is huge for the Wildcats. Now they have something to actually really play for instead of just beating up on their little brothers for a GNAC title that honestly just leaves us all as fans of Central feeling unfulfilled. Like, cool, we won the GNAC, but we only had 2 teams to get to it, and they're all pretty mediocre at best. The statement from the Lone Star Conference just says that the 3 schools are under a multi-year agreement to join as affiliate members, but they don't say how long their term is. I'm just going to assume it's indefinite. Like, we're just here for the time being with everybody else and just going to see how well it plays out. Because if it was like a 5-year agreement or a 10-year agreement, you would think that they would put that in the statement, like it's a 5-year agreement to play in the Lone Star Conference, but they don't. So I'm just going to assume that it's indefinite and that this first season is just going to be kind of a trial, especially for Central, Simon Fraser, and Western Oregon, for those 3 to just kind of feel if this is right for them. Because, like I said, these schools are going to have to come from far to play us and for us to play them, because we're in the north half of the United States in Washington and Oregon and even up in Canada, while the Lone Star schools are all in Texas and New Mexico area. So there's a lot of traveling for whatever 2 programs get matched up for either the new schools or the old schools joining in. And as far as I can tell, this is just for football because, like I said earlier, the GNAC is only really struggling for football because everybody's leaving it. And we're doing fine for all the other sports. Like, we still play all the other teams in the GNAC for all the other sports we offer, and they don't have a problem as far as I can tell. But yeah, this is just for football. And that's really all the news that I have about football. I really want to cover Central Washington football next season and just kind of talk about it because they have been streaming the games, I believe. And I want to just kind of tune in and watch everything and get reacquainted with the program, because when I was a student at Central, I would always go to the games for football, for basketball, for softball, volleyball, and those are kind of what I want to cover. Actually, I'm not entirely sure what I want to cover. I just know that I want to cover football this coming fall and potentially men's basketball, but that takes a lot of commitment to watching their games, and since I'm balancing a full-time job and I'm a 2-hour time zone difference ahead of Central Washington, it might make it hard to watch all the basketball games, but I'm going to try. But football and men's basketball are for sure the ones that I want to cover. I'm not sure if there will be anything else that I cover, just because I don't really know a whole lot about the other sports. I would go and watch the other sports except baseball, but I don't really know a whole lot about the sports to really talk about them in depth like I do about football and basketball. So that's just where I'm at right now in terms of future hope for a podcast season or series on this channel for Central and their programs. Moving on, in between the last podcast and now, there was a Nintendo Direct. This is on the gaming side of news. And in the Direct, we got something that has been a bit of a controversy, or highly discussed, I should say. And that is that we are getting DLC for Mario Kart 8. Now, the reason why this is being, I guess, debated on whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, because a lot of people want Mario Kart 9. They want the next installment in the series. But there are a lot of us who are happy with the DLC because there are these multi-waves of 8 tracks per DLC pack. And for all the packs, it's $25. And me personally, I am really happy with this because we're essentially getting a whole game's worth of DLC tracks for only $25. So why would you want a whole new game with less tracks for $60 when you can get one game for its retail price of $60 and the $25 DLC and get twice as many tracks? Like, that's a really good deal. I don't get why people are complaining about it, and especially with them, bringing back old tracks from previous installments in the franchise. That's what this is. None of these courses are new, at least yet. All the ones that they announced are previous entries in the series, and I love that. I'm glad that they're not just making new tracks, just for the sake of DLC, but they're bringing back old tracks that people, wished were in the game to begin with. Because anytime this game was, I guess, announced, or when courses were leaked to be in this game, people were like, oh, I wonder if this track from Mario Kart Wii is going to be in it, or if this track from Mario Kart 64 is going to be in it, and whatnot. And then people would always be disappointed when their favorite tracks wouldn't make it into the base game. But now, with the DLC, we're getting 48 tracks of remastered courses from previous games. And the first pack is going to launch in March. And it includes, from Mario Kart Tour, Paris Promenade, Toad Circuit from 3DS, Choco Mountain from 64, Coconut Mall from Wii, Tokyo Blur from Tour, Shroom Ridge from DS, Sky Garden from Mario Kart Advance, and Ninja Hideaway from Mario Kart Tour. So, yeah, I'm happy with the DLC. I think $25 for 48 tracks is a really, really good deal, assuming that, it's not $25 per pack that's released per 8 courses. I assume it's $25 for all 48. The direct wasn't totally clear, but they made it seem like it was $25 for everything. But yeah, I am super happy with this, and especially with the courses that were announced. They have 3 courses from Mario Kart Tour, and I never played that game. I don't think anybody played Mario Kart Tour. From my perspective, it just seemed like Mario Kart Tour released and it was just dead on impact. Like, hardly anybody played it. I've never heard anybody talk about Mario Kart Tour. So them bringing levels from that game over actually, lets us play those worlds without having to buy a whole different game. And yeah, so it's smart. It's smart business wise to bring the tour tracks over because nobody fucking played those games. And giving those to us. So these are essentially our new courses, quote unquote. But even for the people who played Tour, now they have these tracks, or these 3 for now, in Mario Kart 8 for them to play with their friends, if they have any, or online. And speaking of online, these tracks are being released, right? But you don't have to have the DLC to play them online. All you need is for somebody who's hosting the lobby to have the DLC, and everybody else online in that room can play those tracks if it's selected on random or something. So that's awesome. I thought at first that this was going to be DLC locked. Like, if you were going to play DLC courses online, you could only be matched up with people who also paid for the DLC. But thankfully, that's not the case. So I don't even have to buy the DLC to go online and kick some ass on these DLC courses. You know what I'm saying? Like, so little Timmy, if he can't steal his mom's credit card, can still just go online and play these courses, which is super awesome. I'm so happy that they did that. And I think it'll make online a lot more, I guess, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it'll make online, I guess, revive itself a little bit, since you don't have to have the DLC to play these new courses online. So, looking at the list of 8 courses that are being added in Wave 1, 2 really stand out to me, and that is Choco Mountain from Mario Kart 64 and Coconut Mall from Mario Kart Wii. those two are probably two of my top 3 favorite Mario Kart courses of all time. And my number 1 being Waluigi Pinball. But seeing Choco Mountain and Coconut Mall being back, like those 2 courses alone are enough to make me pay for the $25 for the 48 tracks. Like those 2 alone, I don't even care what gets announced in the later pack. I just want Choco Mountain and Coconut Mall. And I think it's also funny that during the direct, they Coconut Malled us. they referenced that meme that I thought was dead, but they brought it back. They Coconut Malled us and announced Coconut Mall as a part of the DLC pack. So that for me was the highlight of the Nintendo Direct, was the Mario Kart 8 DLC, which is disappointing, I guess. That Direct was very meh overall. I might talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, I'm so happy Coconut Mall and Choco Mountain are back. Those 2 courses fucking slap, and I absolutely will be playing that DLC and beating the shit out of little Timmy online and reminding him just who the OGs are, you know? I played Choco Mountain back on the 64, man. I am a veteran. I played Choco Mountain on the DS. You know, I know that course. I'm no speedrunner, but I don't need to be a speedrunner to whoop some ass in it. So, I guess I do want to talk a little bit about the Direct. I personally thought it was disappointing. Like, there wasn't a whole lot to it. We got a third British Blade Chronicles game, British Blade 3. That's kind of a tongue twister. And I don't really care about that game. I never really have. It's never really appealed to me. But that's something that people are really talking about. Another thing that we got that I'm kind of torn on is Switch Sports, which is kind of a reboot of Wii Sports, but it's like different because golf is coming in a free update later after the game's release, and they cut boxing and baseball, but they brought in soccer and badminton. I don't really get that. And the gameplay looks a little clunky to me. Like, it looks really slow and just, I don't know how to describe it. It just looked off, especially soccer. Their soccer demonstration or demo for the game that they showed on the Direct, it looked really just off. And I can't really put a proper description to it besides it just looked clunky and slow. I'm sure it'll be better by the time it releases, because this is Nintendo, and they're usually really good with their sporting games. At least in the past. I could be wrong. I could have just jinxed it. But I have high hopes for the game. I think it'll be fun, especially that they brought back tennis. I don't think this game would have sold any copies if they didn't bring tennis in the base game. Like, tennis is like the staple that carried Wii Sports. And what I'm hoping with that game is that they keep adding sports to it, like taking pages from Wii Sports Resort, which is arguably a better game, and bring in, sports like basketball, because basketball is a lot of fun, or archery. I played a lot of the archery game in Wii Sports Resort, or the 100-pin bowling. I mean, 100-pin bowling could be in the base game of this just because bowling is, so we'll see on that. But I hope that they keep pulling titles from Wii Sports Resort and make Switch Sports just one, I guess, not remake, but a new version of Wii Sports Resort, but for the Switch. That's my hope. I'm probably not going to play it on release just because I want to see if more things are getting added. But apart from tennis, nothing really about the game really interests me. So that's where I stand on that. The other thing from the Direct that I wanted to talk about is Fire Emblem. We got Fire Emblem. Only it's not really Fire Emblem. It's fucking Dynasty Warriors Fire Emblem. We got a fucking Fire Emblem Warriors game. 3 Hopes is what they call it. It is the, I guess, revelation route for anybody who played Fates of 3 houses. At least that's what it feels like. Like it's going to be the true route where all the lords come together, and instead of killing each other, they're going to defeat a common enemy. I mean, that's what it looks like. I don't know. It just looks like it's going to be that way, and that seems to be the general consensus among Fire Emblem fans, is that this is going to be the fifth true route of the game that you don't have to kill any of the lords in, which is whatever. But all in all, I am really disappointed in this. I've been wanting a new Fire Emblem game announced for so long, because Three Houses came out all the way in July of 2019. Three Houses is about to turn 3 years old this summer, and the Nintendo Direct was announcing games primarily for the first half of 2022. So that means that we likely are not going to get a Fire Emblem game in 2022. It'll probably be in early 2023. And I say that just because Fire Emblem games are usually announced in advance. Like, they're not going to announce the game in a direct later this year and be like, oh, it's going to be a holiday release like here in a few months. Like, no, we would have absolutely heard something about the next main entry in the series by now if we were going to get something this year. At least I think. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But what I think is going to happen is there's going to be a holiday direct or a summer direct, and they're going to announce the next Fire Emblem main series game, which I assume is going to be a remake, for spring of 2023. That's my prediction. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But that just feels like what we're going to get. So not seeing Fire Emblem in this direct being teased for its next mainline series entry is really disappointing. And it's even, I guess, this isn't really hard evidence, but I feel like us getting Fire Emblem 3 Hopes Warriors or whatever the hell for later this year all but confirms that we're not going to get a mainline Fire Emblem game in 2022, because why would you release Fire Emblem Warriors in the summer and then turn around and have a holiday release for the next mainline series? Like, that would undercut Fire Emblem Warriors, because you're immediately one-upping it merely a few months later and not giving it time to sell more copies over its lifetime. You're shortening its lifespan. It's like what Legends Arceus did to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Granted, those games suck, but Legends Arceus came out and immediately just killed the momentum of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So if they do that with a mainline series Fire Emblem game to the new Warriors game, you're going to be cutting off its momentum. You're going to end up selling less copies of Warriors because people are going to want to save their money and buy the mainline game, or not want to buy Warriors because they don't want to burn themselves out of Fire Emblem before the mainline. So it just makes sense that they would postpone the next mainline Fire Emblem until early 2023. I don't know why they would push it later than spring of 2023 unless it's that big of a game and needs that much development. But again, Three Houses is turning 3 years old, so whatever game is coming up has most likely been in development for a while. So I'm excited for what is to come for Fire Emblem. I'm upset that we didn't get a new Fire Emblem game at least announced, even if it could be announced now for spring of 2023. Like, I'm fine waiting over a year for it if it's announced, because then I have that time to build up hype for the game and, tune into news and whatnot and follow it. But to get Warriors is a little disappointing, just because I am not a fan of Dynasty Warriors games. I think they're really just boring. They don't really do anything for me. I think they're really silly, but not in a good way, in just a stupid kind of silly way. Like, I don't really see the appeal in a character going up to like 100 enemies, and with one slash of his sword, all 100 of those enemies are now flying in the air, and now your character's flying, and he's like 100 yards away from just a giant pile of enemies, and he's just swinging his sword to himself or whatever, and he's just hitting all of them. Like, it's just super fucking exaggerated, and it's just really stupid to me. I don't judge anybody who enjoys Dynasty Warriors style games. I know a lot of people who actually really enjoy Dynasty Warriors, and it's just not for me, but I don't think less of anybody who enjoys Warriors. It's just not for me. So I'm probably not going to play Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes. If I really care about getting more lore for Three Houses, I can just look it up or watch the cutscenes in the game, like what I did for Hyrule Warriors. Like, I didn't play Hyrule Warriors for the same reason, but I just watched the cutscenes trying to get lore, even though it didn't really get lore. Hyrule Warriors just kind of went off and did its own thing, and it's not really canon to the mainline series games because it just changes everything. But that's a whole another topic for another day. But point being, I don't plan on playing Fire Emblem Warriors. I'm disappointed that we didn't at least get an announcement for the next Fire Emblem game. But I am optimistic that either this summer or this winter, we will get an announcement for Fire Emblem in spring of 2023. I just don't see Fire Emblem, a mainline series game, coming out in 2022 just because of Warriors. If we didn't get any Fire Emblem at all, I could maybe see us getting a holiday release for Fire Emblem. Maybe. That's pretty on the low possibility side, in my opinion, of that, even if Warriors wasn't announced. But yeah, I think Warriors all but confirms that we're not getting a mainline game in 2022. I think that I talked about this for a second, but I think the next mainline Fire Emblem game is going to be a remake. It just seems to be the general thought that we're going to get another Echoes game, just like Shadows of Valentia, but for a new series that's being brought back. And it's very highly debated which game is going to be remade. Some people think it's going to be Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, Ike's games. And some think it's going to be Roy's games, Fire Emblem 6 and 7, I believe it is. Blazing Blade, and the Game Boy Advance games that are going to be remade. Or some people think it's going to be a genealogy of the Holy War remake that's coming. I really don't know. There's a lot of, I guess, fake leaks out there from people who just state their opinion, but they start off their opinion with, sources tell me that we're going to get so-and-so. Like, there's a lot of bullshit news out there, which makes it kind of hard to trust anything. Me personally, I'm hoping for a Blazing Blade and Binding Blade remake. I think if you took those two games and you made it into one and you threw in a time skip to join those two games together, I think that would be incredible. I have played those games on Game Boy Advance, and I really enjoyed them, and I would really love to see them come back onto the Switch to, as a remake. But honestly, I'd be happy with anything. Like, even if it's a Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn remake, I would love that, because I've never played those games, because those games are super hard to find these days, and they're super expensive. They're like collector's items at this point. Or I wouldn't even care if Genealogy was remade, because, again, I've never played that game, and I just want a mainline Fire Emblem game that isn't fucking Dynasty Warriors. That's all I ask. Or even if it's, like, a whole new game like Three Houses was, and it's not a remake, I don't care. I'm happy. I just want to play some fucking Fire Emblem again. I've already done everything in Three Houses. Now, I've beaten all 4 routes on hard mode and on maddening mode. And I've even tried Iron Manning that game, but that game isn't really designed for Iron Man, so just kind of left it. I haven't really done a maddening Iron Man for that reason. But yeah, I just want a Fire Emblem game, man. Also, because like I said in the beginning of the podcast, there wasn't an episode last Sunday because of the Super Bowl, and I'm super happy that the Rams won it. They deserved it. I didn't think that the Bengals would really have a chance, but the Bengals fought hard. Man, give the Bengals credit. They put up one hell of a fight, but the Rams just was too much in the end. And Cooper Kupp, man, he absolutely deserved that MVP. Shout out to Eastern Washington, man, where our boy Kupp went to school at. And yeah, good for the Rams. And that's why there wasn't a podcast last weekend. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is the Taste of Nostalgia, the series that I recently debuted on the channel. I'm gonna commit to a once a month for that series, so that way I can take time to really play through these games, get content, and do a good quality job editing to make sure I make the best kind of product. So this month's was Donkey Kong 64, and unfortunately YouTube just isn't showing it to a lot of people. It's hardly gotten any impressions, which is disappointing, but thank you to everybody who watched it and liked it and even subscribed from it. It really means a lot. When it debuted, it actually did really, really good for what little impressions it's got. Like, it's, in a way, it's one of my highest performing videos based on, likes and engagement per impression. Like, it's gotten a higher impression rate of viewage, even though it's gotten hardly any impressions. So in a way, I'm disappointed that it's not being shown, but also in a way, I'm really thankful for it, because what people it has been shown to are tuning in and watching it. And it really makes me hopeful for the series as a whole. I'm not really, sure what I want the series to be, popularity-wise. I'm just kind of doing it so I have an excuse to replay games and note my memories for other people or for myself later in life if I want to rewatch them and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. But that's where I'm at with the series. I'm actually finished recording the March episode of Taste of Nostalgia. That episode has all its content recorded. I just need to start editing it, which is going to take a little while to put it together. This is going to be a long video. The next Taste of Nostalgia video, I feel, is going to be a long one just because there's a lot to the game and a lot of memories, that are coming back to me playing it. So I'm super excited for it. I hope you guys tune in for it. I'm really proud of it, even though I haven't started editing it yet. Just keep an eye out for it. Like and subscribe so you don't miss it. I'm not sure when in March it's going to come out. Hopefully early March. That way I can just get it uploaded and get started on the next game in the series and just, keep moving on, keep on that grind. Whereas if I release it in the middle of the month, then I have less time to get an early release for April. But we'll just play it by year. But that's where the next episode is at. Content's done. It just needs edited, which is going to take a little while. And then it'll be posted hopefully in early March. I am not going to reveal what game it is, but it's a game that I think a lot of you have played. I think a lot of people have played it just because it's such a classic. And I will say it is a Game Boy game. That is all I'm going to say. It is a Game Boy game, and I think a lot of people have played it. So super excited for that. Again, I'm really proud of the content and how well it turned out. This is just going to take a while to edit because it's going to be such a long episode. With that, I think that's everything that I have. If not, we'll just save it for the next podcast. Thank you, everybody who tuned in, who's been tuning in, who's been watching this channel. Let me know your thoughts on everything down below, especially with the Direct. Like, what were you excited about? I personally couldn't really get excited for anything in the deal except for the DLC for Mario Kart 8 in the Direct, but that's just me. Let me know what your thoughts on everything are down below. I'm going to keep trying to keep up on Wildcat football and basketball news. I'm not going to follow basketball this season just because I don't want to join in so late in the season. We'll probably pick that up next fall, winter-ish when they start back up. But yeah, keep an eye on that. I'm going to keep following football news because they usually start spring football right about now, and that's usually when we start getting more news for Central Washington stuff. But yeah, that's all I got. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Remember to like this if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't, and keep an eye out for the next Taste of Nostalgia video. I don't have any Let's Plays planned at the moment, but that could change at any time. I do have a couple other video ideas for series I'd like to bring to the channel, but they're in early development stages, trying for me to figure out the logistics of everything. But we'll see how well it all turns out. And yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and have a nice day.